Ever since BlackRock launched its BUIDL fund on Ethereum, everyone has been going crazy over real-world assets, or RWAs. Oddly enough, it seems that everyone simultaneously forgot about the biggest RWAs of all. These are stablecoins, which are backed by US bonds, the same real-world assets that everyone's been tokenizing. The difference is that stablecoins have much more potential for adoption and growth. Once stablecoin regulations are passed in the US and elsewhere, new use cases, specifically crypto payments, will emerge that could take the smart contract cryptos that support them to new all-time highs. That's why today we're going to summarize a fascinating recent stablecoin report and tell you which cryptos could benefit when stablecoins go mainstream. Stay tuned. The report we'll be summarizing today is titled, quote, Stablecoins, the Emerging Market Story. It was sponsored by Visa, which is of course one of the world's largest payment processors. And some of you will know that Visa has been testing stablecoin payments, which is why this report is so important. It begins with a brief introduction from Visa's head of crypto, Kai Sheffield. In it, he reveals Visa's attitude towards stablecoins, quote, "We believe stablecoins represent a payment innovation that has the potential to expand access to secure, reliable, and convenient payments to more people in more places." To that end, Visa has been piloting USDC payments on blockchains like Ethereum and Solana, and has even been developing advanced tools to track stablecoins across the crypto ecosystem. One of these tools happens to be free, and we'll leave a link to it in the description, along with a link to the report itself. Now, in the first part of the report, the authors, crypto VC firm Castle Island Ventures, hedge fund Brevan Howard, and crypto data analytics firm Artemis, explain what stablecoins are and argue that they are crypto's secret killer dApp. For context, ever since crypto started gaining traction, everyone has been wondering what the killer dApp will be that triggers mass adoption. Obviously, the authors of this report believe the answer is stablecoins, and they point to a few metrics as proof. A total stablecoin market cap of $160 billion and rising, 20 million unique crypto wallets transferring stablecoins each month, and over $2.6 trillion of stablecoins being transferred in H1 2024 alone. The authors claim that this exponential growth is due to the advantages that stablecoins have over traditional fiat currencies, such as fast settlement. In reality, though, the main reason why people use and transfer stablecoins is to speculate on crypto, something which reports of this nature conveniently tend to leave out. Naturally, the authors of this report argue that this is not the case, because the stablecoin market appears to have little correlation to the trading volume on crypto exchanges in recent years. But we would argue that a more accurate measure would have been to look at the amount of leverage on exchanges instead. If you watched our video about stablecoin market caps, you'll know that's because stablecoins are mostly used in crypto trading, especially leverage trading. This was actually revealed by Tether CEO Paolo Ardoino himself. An all-time high in stablecoin supply therefore suggests lots of leverage. That said, though, Paolo confirmed that USDT is increasingly being used as a sort of digital USD bank account for people who can't get access to a regular USD bank account for whatever reason. For USDT, the exact breakdown is 60-40 trading versus offshore dollar holdings, a trend that began during the pandemic. Notably, this 60-40 split is probably not the case for other stablecoins like USDC. In USDC's case, it appears to be primarily used in DeFi, people borrowing USDC using other cryptos as collateral. Now, this is significant as USDC is the stablecoin that Visa has been doing payment pilots with. Makes you think. Anyways, the authors then admit that it's hard to get a sense of what percentage of stablecoins are being used for payments, particularly in emerging markets. That's why they took it upon themselves to do a study looking at stablecoin use in Brazil, India, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey to get some good data. Interestingly, the authors also seem to claim that nobody else has done this kind of study to date. Funnily enough, they go on to cite similar stablecoin reports which found what we just noted. Stablecoins are primarily used for crypto-specific activities. But again, this does seem to be changing, and that is interesting. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to smash that like button to let us know and subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. We regret to announce that the Bro Crypto podcast is sponsored by the Coin Bureau Deals page. This is the place where you can find the very best deals and promos in the crypto space. From trading fee discounts of up to 60% to sign-up bonuses of up to $100,000 on some of the best crypto exchanges. You'll also find crazy discounts on hardware wallets, and you can sign up for our exclusive Coin Bureau Club there too. So check out the Coin Bureau Deals page today. Otherwise, you'll have to keep listening to these two idiots.
Hell, that's the problem a lot of crypto bros have these days. They're inside too much, 24/7 on the
computer. Open your inside. You get out, you get some sun, you get some vitamin D.
Now, in the second part of the report, the authors unpack their methodology. They reveal that the data was collected by YouGov, a polling and data analytics firm based in the UK. They also note that they picked Brazil, India, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey because Chainalysis found crypto adoption to be high there. The catch is that the sample size was quite small, with only 500 adults being surveyed from each country. For what it's worth, the authors specify that these participants came from different regions in each country. For reference, studies like these are typically conducted in big cities, which tends to skew the data. The more you know. Anyhow, the only two requirements for the survey were that the participant had to be at least 18 years old and must have used crypto-related products or services over the past year. Incredibly, over 93% of respondents claimed to have experience with stablecoins, despite this not being a requirement. In other words, the rate of stablecoin adoption in the 5 countries surveyed is so high that if you've used crypto in the last 12 months, there's a 93% chance you use stablecoins, or at least know about them. This is evidence to the idea that stablecoins are crypto's killer dApp, at least in emerging markets. The report then takes a look at the total stablecoin supply, which is self-explanatory. It's been going up and to the right since 2020, and it's actually insane how much stablecoins have grown. To put things into perspective, the total market cap of stablecoins has increased by 40x over the last 4 years or so. Not surprisingly, USDT remains the most dominant stablecoin. What is surprising, though, is just how much EUSD has grown. For those unfamiliar, EUSD is a stablecoin that maintains its peg by arbitraging BTC and ETH futures against their spot prices. Its market cap has grown to almost $3 billion since launching in March. The authors argue that this is evidence that lots of people want to earn yield on their stablecoins, but as with the stablecoin payments narrative, there's more to this story. In short, most people are not using EUSD as a de facto savings account. They're mostly using it to do all sorts of degenerate stuff in DeFi. In any case, the way that the authors display USDT's dominance is telling. They portray it as being in a gradual decline. From our perspective, this is meant to imply that USDT will keep shrinking and that USDC, which Visa is using, will continue to grow. Good news for BlackRock as it manages USDC's reserves. The bad news for BlackRock & Co. is that most of the stablecoin transactions are taking place on 2 smart contract cryptos, Tron and Ethereum. This is bad news because Tron is effectively a USDT chain. In fact, Circle stopped minting USDC on Tron in February of this year. As for Ethereum, it's generally very expensive. So, taken together, these facts suggest that USDT is the undisputed king of stablecoin payments, particularly in emerging markets. That's simply because Ethereum is too expensive for emerging market users, and USDC's use is limited on Tron. This leaves USDT on Tron, which paints a bullish picture for TRX. More about that in the description. I digress. Now, the authors tried to dig deeper into this stablecoin data by looking at the number of wallets transacting stablecoins rather than the total value. Ironically enough, the result is even worse from the author's perspective. It reveals that Tron and BNB dominate this metric and continue to grow. BNB's primary stablecoin is a Binance-pegged stablecoin, in case you were wondering. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, all of these stablecoin statistics show that US dollar stablecoins are dominant by a wide margin. Almost 99% of stablecoins in crypto are pegged to the USD, with the majority of the remaining 1% being pegged to gold. Peter Schiff needs to pump those numbers up. Jokes aside, the authors compare this to the dominance of the US dollar in other financial areas like foreign exchange reserves. As you can see, the US dollar isn't nearly as dominant in other contexts as it is in crypto. So this begs the question of what the end game with these stablecoins really is. Have a guess at the answer in the comments. Hint, it has to do with US dollar dominance. Now, the third part of the report reveals the results of the study. Lo and behold, the authors preface the findings by admitting that the sample might not be unbiased after all. That's because their survey focused on users of crypto exchanges who, by definition, are crypto users. Regardless, the findings were still fascinating. For starters, they found that the number one reason why respondents use stablecoins was to get exposure to US dollars. The caveat is that the number two reason was to earn a yield, and that these reasons were fairly close, 47% versus 39% respectively. Not only that, but one of the main reasons why respondents used stablecoins instead of regular USD was, quote, the likelihood of government interference. From our perspective, this is the biggest selling point of stablecoins and indeed crypto in general. In theory, nobody controls them. You control what you hold. In practice, however, this is not the case for centralized stablecoins. If you've been keeping up with our coverage of central bank digital currencies, you'll know we've been warning that centralized stablecoins come with almost the exact same controls as CBDCs. The only difference is that stablecoins are not issued by central banks. As far as we can tell, this is why USDT is so dominant in emerging markets. The fact that Tether isn't based in the US has given the impression that USDC comes with a lower risk of controls. Now, this was probably true until November last year, when Tether started working closely with US authorities. Whatever the case, the most eye-opening finding was that Ethereum was the preferred blockchain for stablecoins among respondents. Besides the fact that this is inconsistent with the on-chain data discussed earlier, it's also strange given that Ethereum generally has very high transaction fees. The caveat in this case is that Ethereum's transaction fees have been very low in recent months. This, along with Ethereum's reputation and trust, is probably why it's the preferred chain. Case in point, the most popular crypto wallet among respondents was Trust Wallet, which is owned by Binance. The more you know, part 2. Next, the report provides more details about these findings and reveals that the actual number one reason why people use stablecoins is to trade crypto or NFTs, even in emerging markets. The crypto focus of stablecoins is highlighted by the finding that most respondents only keep a small percentage of their portfolios in stablecoins. Assuming portfolio means all the assets they hold, then it's possible they keep most of their wealth in non-crypto assets. If not, then they must be real crypto bros. As the authors themselves point out, the only exception seems to be Nigeria, where respondents hold a large amount of their portfolios in stablecoins. Considering that Nigerians also account for the highest percentage of non-crypto use cases with stablecoins, it further underscores the possibility that stablecoins are not being used for payments in most other emerging markets, as the authors imply. As otherwise, the non-crypto use cases of stablecoins would be high in all of them, but they're not. Even so, the low percentage of stablecoin holdings could be explained by the possibility that respondents just don't have that much in the way of savings. It could also be in the details of the question around what counts as being part of your portfolio. It just goes to show how complicated this quantitative data can be. To their credit, the authors also look at some qualitative data. They ask open-ended questions about why respondents prefer USDT and whether they'd ever switch to another stablecoin like USDC. The answer to the former was habit, and the answer to the latter was yes. Finally, some good news for BlackRock. On that note, we couldn't help but notice one finding casually mentioned by the authors. Quote, a number of users also reported that they would switch from Tether if it were banned or faced government intervention. Note that proposed US stablecoin regulations would ban USDT in the USA? Probably nothing. Now, after being as taken aback as we were by the finding that Ethereum was the most popular blockchain among respondents, the authors note that using exchanges in lieu of wallets is also popular, with roughly 20% of respondents doing this. I'm not sure who needs to hear it, folks, but never keep your crypto on exchanges. Now, as expected, in the conclusion, the authors exaggerate their findings somewhat to fit their narrative. They claim they, quote, contradict the common belief that stablecoins are exclusively used as a tool for the speculative trading of crypto assets. This is despite the biased sample used in their study, Emerging Markets. They go on to say that almost 50% of respondents use stablecoins as a savings mechanism, despite stablecoins only accounting for a small percentage of their overall portfolios. You'll recall this means that they could be keeping most of their savings in other assets, possibly even in other cryptos like BTC. But no, the authors stress that 39% of respondents using stablecoins for non-crypto use cases use them for payments, despite the number one reason why they use stablecoins at all is to speculate in crypto. The authors even go as far as arguing that this all justifies reasonable stablecoin regulations in the US. Never mind that the stablecoin regulations currently being discussed in the US would ban USDT, which most of the respondents use. The authors probably assume they would all just switch to USDC. Anyway, this brings me to the big question, and that's which cryptos could benefit when stablecoins go mainstream. Well, the answer to this question ultimately depends on which stablecoins become the most dominant. In case you haven't noticed, Visa is cheering for USDC, but USDT is currently the top dog. So long as this continues to be the case, then TRX and ETH will continue to benefit. In retrospect, the findings that Tron and Ethereum are the most popular chains for stablecoins were predictable. That's because USDT's supply is split between Tron and Ethereum per its transparency page, a useful resource. Logically then, we can see where USDC is distributed to get a sense of which cryptos would benefit if it became dominant. Per Circle's multi-chain USDC page, almost all its supply is on Ethereum, with most of the remainder on the base layer 2, Solana, and the Arbitrum layer 2. So this means ETH, Sol, and ARB. But it's not that straightforward. You see, Visa is approaching stablecoin adoption from the perspective that payments will be their biggest use case. This fundamentally assumes that payments will become a bigger demand driver than all the crypto use cases combined, which isn't the case, at least not yet. Still, there's no denying that the trend seems to be heading in that direction, and that the trend will accelerate if reasonable stablecoin regulations are passed in the US and elsewhere, which does seem likely. As such, we need to ask a much bigger question. Which stablecoin will be used for payments? Now, believe it or not, but it looks like the answer will be PayPal's PYUSD. In addition to the fact that PayPal is one of the world's largest payment processors, after Visa of course, its PYUSD stablecoin was specifically designed to be used for payments. Can you guess which blockchain holds most of its supply? That's right, Solana. Now, if you've been keeping up with our Solana updates, you'll know that we've been focusing on the fact that Solana seems to be positioning itself as the ideal smart contract crypto for payments. Although this remains to be seen, it seems that key players are also positioning themselves for this, including Visa itself. Some of you might recall that a Visa spokesperson mentioned during a Solana conference that speed and reliability were even more important to them than regulation when it comes to stablecoin payments. And some of you will know that Solana is currently working on FireDancer, which will improve both metrics. Speaking of which, the fact that Visa apparently doesn't care that much about the regulatory side makes the conclusion of its study even more bizarre. This could be explained, though, by the fact that the report was authored by other players in and around the crypto industry, some of which may be even bigger backers of USDC. FYI, Circle has been positioning USDC as a payment stablecoin for a long time. This seems to be partially because it could result in more favourable regulations, and partly because payments will probably be the biggest demand driver for stablecoins. Visa's long-term thesis on stablecoins is probably right. The only thing Visa could get wrong is the players involved in this future scenario. At the payment processor level, it might be PayPal and not Visa. At the stablecoin level, it might be PYUSD and not USDC. And at the blockchain level, it might be Solana and not Ethereum or its layer 2s. As the facts stand today, this seems to be the most likely outcome: PayPal, PYUSD, and Solana. But make no mistake, this could change, and it probably will once stablecoin regulations are passed. You can bet that Circle and its affiliates have been working hard to put regulatory red tape around their competitors. And I'll remind you that Circle is backed by BlackRock. Food for thought. And that is all for today's video, folks, so if you learned something new, be sure to smash that like button to let us know. If you want to keep learning, then subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell. And if you want to help teach others about USDC and stablecoins, then share this video with them. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Guy, signing off.